Was that how you expected game one to go? The Lakers' size versus the Warriors' shooting? Let's start with the refereeing, a big subject, and it's going to be a big subject throughout the series, right? I thought there was only one play to really complain about, and that was there at the end, unfortunately, because it could have altered the game. After the Poole deep miss three, the jump ball or lack thereof, and you never see a team get granted that timeout when a guy doesn't have clear possession of the ball. You just don't see that, right? And so that's when, because you guys know me, if you follow the channel, I don't like to talk about the refereeing. I don't, because it's give and take and it's hit or miss. That one was bad, right? But as far as the free throw discrepancy throughout the game, I thought Kerr said it best, right? That was on them. If you go back and you look at the tape, the very few times that we did get into the paint, we didn't even look at the rim. We treated the rim like someone with a booger in their nose, right? Like, don't look directly at it. Like, don't look at it. You know what I mean? It was Anthony Davis's presence. It was Anthony Davis's presence. It was one of the more dominating defensive performances I've seen in a playoff game. And it was, what did he have? 4 blocks, right? But it was the shots that we didn't take. It was the hesitations. It was the double clutching of shots that, he really controlled that game on both ends of the floor. It was an impressive performance. Today's sponsor, you guessed it, Sorare NBA, the online trading card game with NBA. Today's sponsor, Sorare NBA, you guessed it, the online NBA trading card game that plays like fantasy basketball, but they're an NFT that you actually keep, and you get a chance to win signed autographed jerseys, playoff tickets, NBA gift cards. But let's talk about that 5th spot in your rotation this week. There's only so many players you can use at this point, right? And so that's always the toughest choice. I wanted to throw a couple names out for you, starting with Duncan Robinson for the Heat. He's hit or miss. Sometimes he'll DNP, but if he plays, he has the potential to hit 4 or 5 threes in a half, right? From the other side of things, the Knicks, Isaiah Hartenstein, all of a sudden is closing games for them and could potentially get you a double-double. And then you go to the West, the Phoenix Suns, you've heard the news, Chris Paul. It's going to be more than a couple games when it's a groin, is my guess. And so now all of a sudden, Cam Payne becomes a high-usage player, someone you could easily or comfortably put in that 5th spot. Sorare NBA, links in the description. I guess the other thing to address would be like, how do you feel about that Poole shot? How do you feel about that Poole shot? That was probably a 30-plus footer there. Context always matters, though, right? And so if he had taken that shot against the Kings, yeah, I'd say that was a bad one. I'd say that's a bad one, right? Where you understand you can get to the rim and finish. But when you consider the inability to finish at the rim and the shots they were getting once they got in the paint, I don't think it was a bad shot. I don't. And he also, you considered that he was shooting well in the game. Now, baby Steph there, right? You can tell with Poole's shot that he had to use more legs than he wants to. And to me, that's a sign that you're a little bit out of your range, right? When the form on your shot changes, that means that you're probably out further than you need to be. But again, given the situation, I was all right with him pulling the trigger on that. And listen, if you're watching this channel and you're subscribed, then you're an educated viewer. So I'm not going to over explain the scenario. This is a very simple series, right? And late in that game, you saw the Warriors finally make that adjustment. I think that it was probably early in the 3rd quarter where most of us were like, hey, the off-ball Steph stuff, it ain't working, right? They're top blocking Steph and Clay, and they're just trying to invite him to attack AD at the rim. They don't want those backdoor cuts against that pterodactyl, right? And so it was disheartening to see how long it took for them to adjust to the high pick and roll offense with Steph. And what do you know? It was a 14-0 run, right? But I will say this, because yes, Kerr ultimately needs to take more control of the situation, I think. And that's maybe the Phil Jackson in him. He kind of likes to let them figure it out, if you will. He plays it too coy at times. But let's not sit here and pretend like Steph Curry can't snap his fingers and say, hey, I want the ball 1-4 flat, clear out, right? Like if Steph wants to command the ball and change how they're operating, he can do that instantaneously is the word I'm looking for, right? Like, so part of that is it's a team wide decision is what I'm getting at. The team needed to recognize and adjust sooner than they did in that game one. But what we found out when they did was how effective the small ball was. The pace opened up the floor. And now, even though it was too little too late in that game one, you can see how this is going to play out moving forward, or at least the initial adjustments. Does Kerr start Poole, right, in place of Looney? This is because Looney obviously didn't close the game, and so what is the Lakers' adjustment to if the Warriors go small like that? Well, it's going to be relentlessly pick on Jordan Poole defensively. Oh, you want to play small? We're just going to call him into every switch and just go at him till you get him off the floor, right? Because they're certainly not going to size down to us, not with LeBron and AD. Now, the Warriors' counter to that, which we also saw in that fourth quarter, was playing some zone. Like, okay, we're not going to let you pick on him. We're going to zone up. But then it's always give and take, right? And the give and take usually with the zone is now you don't defensive rebound well enough, right? Teams can hit the offensive glass, and that's obviously going to be an issue looking at the Lakers personnel. But Poole, listen, I was all right with the shot and he played well. And frankly, there was times where he carried us in that game where Steph and Clay off ball in the corners. They don't want the back door cut. They're not coming up top. And so Poole had to do his thing, and he did. Styles make fights. And you see the Lakers are big, right? They don't have a ton of quick guys outside of Schroeder, right? Who else is actually considered quick outside of Schroeder? Certainly not D'Lo. Reeves is crafty, but he's not a quick, twitchy guy. And so you see where Poole could feel comfortable on the perimeter with that quickness advantage, and he was getting freed for shots because the other interesting thing was they weren't guarding Wiggins, right? They had LeBron was like, you shoot it too. It looks like they're going to try to rest LeBron and hide him defensively at all costs, right? And so let me not get away from the Poole point here because I'll talk about that in a second. But it dawned on me, like this entire season, Jordan Poole has been at the forefront of the discussion. From the punch to the extension to underperforming throughout the year to his roles changing, right? And so now here is his opportunity in this stylistic matchup to just prove the haters wrong, to prove the doubters wrong. And I admit I've been one. How could you not be frustrated with some of the things he does, right? But then you see the talent and what it could be, and it just becomes so intriguing. So this is an opportunity. Hey, he's already got the money. They've already cut the check. So ultimately it doesn't matter, but this is a big series for Jordan Poole, and he's going to get that opportunity. It looks like they're going to have his ball handling, his shot creation, and his shooting on the floor. They can't match strength with strength. It's got to be speed and pace and try to small ball and run and gun them off the floor. So as far as who closes the game and what do you do, Looney or Draymond, I think that's going to be really a minute-to-minute situation. You did see Draymond have much more success guarding Anthony Davis down the stretch. So ultimately, I mean, you can't go out with Draymond on the bench. So it's going to be Looney. But you heard Draymond say himself, you can't take Loon out the game. So that is a predicament. But ultimately, you're going to see a heavy dose of Jordan Poole. Now, as far as actual adjustments to style of play and things and dealing with Anthony Davis and his rim protection, one thing that I think all the guards can do more of is play off of 2 feet. When you get downhill in the paint and you go off 1 foot, you're in AD's world now because he wants you to try to shoot over him or around him. And what you have to do is if you can get to the 2-footed plant, it gives you more options as far as a pump fake goes, and it allows you to go up stronger, and you're going to have to get into his body. And I know that that's easier said than done. The simplest way to put it would be don't jump towards the rim. When he comes over, jump into him. Let's test his body because we know that when it's tested, it doesn't hold up. And so, yeah, you understand why they were tentative around the rim and around the basket, but they're going to have to test AD more, and they're going to have to test LeBron more because the small ball, in order for the small ball and the pace to win out, it's got to be a war of attrition. And I think the biggest problem with game one was AD and LeBron's ability to just rest and zone up in the paint and not really have to defend. So if they're going to go small and they're going to make it a track meet, when they do have the opportunities, get into the body and try AD at the rim and make him feel that. Make him have to defend. Don't let his mere presence protect the basket. You got to test it. Easier said than done, I know. And then that leads me to Jonathan Kuminga. Another DNP. You saw JaMychal Green start that second quarter and he hit 2 threes. He did. But did you see him trying to get up and down the court? He had one play where they had a break and he just couldn't get the bounce pass. He's got a hitch in his get along. He doesn't look healthy. And so for him to be out there instead of Kuminga, just what does that say about where Kuminga is as far as in the rotation and Kerr's belief in him? But here's what I'll say about this. You understand logistically on paper why it was JaMychal spreading the floor, shooting 3. Kuminga shot it all right, particularly in the corners. And if there is a kid that has the confidence in that moment to shoot it, right? The Lakers are dealing with it right now with Vanderbilt, right? That's the funny thing, right? It's the same scenario. One of their better athletes, the best defender on Steph, and they're like, all right, and they're encouraging him to shoot the 3. That's the difference, right? There was a play early in the second half, third quarter. LeBron gets it on the wing and just swings it right to Vanderbilt and he shoots the shot. And you could tell, like in the locker room at halftime, it was discussed like, hey, Vando, we believe in you. Shoot that shot. They're trying to build his confidence to take it because they know they need him to take it. And I don't see why you couldn't do that with Kuminga, right? But even if he isn't taking and making the 3, why not put him in there for 3 or 4 minutes and let him just get downhill at LeBron and AD and let the chips fall where they are? Hey, just get downhill, try to explode on them. And again, test their bodies. We got to make it a war of attrition. So moving into game 2, what are the obvious adjustments? You assume you see more Steph on ball, high pick and roll offense to avoid that top blocking stuff. They got to call LeBron and AD up into the pick and rolls. They were trying to do a lot of guard to guard screening and picking on D'Lo. Make AD and LeBron come up out of the paint. I think that's the adjustment. You know you're going to see a lot more small ball with Draymond at the 5 and the give and take of that. And here's the interesting thing about this series. And Lakers fans, be honest, you know this is the truth. Like as dominant as Anthony Davis was, I've spoken about this before, his competitive stamina and spirit, it's lacking, right? And that's why you see the inconsistency. He's not a high motor guy. He's not a guy that you know what to expect every time he suits up as far as energy and aggression goes. And so as good as he looked, as good as D'Lo looked, these are guys that the next game can look completely different. That's just the track record of their history. So you guys already know my pick, Lakers in 6. And listen, I don't really like making picks. I like to kind of just see how it plays out and tell you what I'm seeing as it goes on. Watch for this, look for that. Did you see this? But this is what we do. So, I'm forced to make a pick, Lakers in 6. But honestly, after game 1, I'm feeling a little more optimistic that I could be wrong. And I think the first reason for that is LeBron. 4 days off. He's never going to be more rested in this series. He looks old, man. He looks old. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you can see by how much he's trying to rest on defense. And we can't let him do that. But that's the number one reason, right? And then what I just talked about as far as, is this sustainable from Anthony Davis? You like the shot quality the Warriors got. And yeah, they shot 40% from 3, but I don't think we feel like they played as good as they can. And the other element is, listen, Draymond, this is a huge series for Draymond. It goes without saying, right? A potential free agent summer. He's playing all his friends from Clutch, right? And so this is more than just affecting possibly his pockets moving forward, but a big ego hit. And you have to imagine, he knows how bad he played in that game. He knows how bad he played. He really let them kind of little bro him at the basket. I understand it's a challenge to finish around those guys, but again, go into their body. Don't try to go around or over the top. Just go right into their chest. You're going to get in foul trouble anyway, according to the refs, right? And so you might as well get your money's worth and try to cave in that bird chest of AD's. Now, he's built like Tarzan, but we know, he's durable like Jane. So they got to test that. But those are my thoughts from game 1. And really this is Poole clearly looks to be the X factor right now. And it's a very interesting point when you consider the context of the season, the fan base kind of souring on him. And now we find ourselves in this matchup where it's like, Poole, we need you. We need that firepower, and we need you to put up some sort of effort defensively. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun one here. And I just hope the refs can stay out of it. The less we have to talk about them, the better. Just let them play all the way. The Dennis Schroeder flopping, like, it's on tape. I said it in the breakdown today. Like, they were so bad. You imagine the refs had to go back and watch that, and now they're going to be cognizant of that. Like, okay, dude, he got us a couple times. He got us a couple times. I don't expect them to get as good of a whistle, whether it's in Los Angeles or San Francisco. But all of that being said, now you got to win game 2, right? You can't go down 0-2 with home court. Can't do that. So I'll be back to talk about what happens. When would that be? Friday? Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.